Hello everyone, hello Instagram and Facebook. We've got both of you guys happening at the same time. Welcome to another Thursday, another Facebook Live. We are jumping in here tonight and we got a really important topic to talk about. We're going to be talking about the culprits behind your gut issues, and not just your angry gut, but also the random symptoms that are happening, like the brain fog and the fatigue and the memory issues, the itchiness, the irritability, the moodiness, right? So we really want to dive a little bit deeper, because typically when there's a gut imbalance, we start to see all sorts of random symptoms come up. And a lot of people don't actually realize that they are in fact connected to your gut. And so they talk a lot about the gas, the bloating, the diarrhea, the constipation, but then they don't realize that hormone imbalances, that an itchy eye, nose, ears, bum, that skin issues like acne, rosacea, eczema, psoriasis, all of these types of symptoms can actually come right from your gut. Now, listen, that's just a pretty broad statement. It goes a little bit deeper than just your gut. And so that's why we're here tonight. We're going to talk about it, and I want you to understand what the heck is going on, right? Now, years ago, when I was really struggling with my gut issues, I was fluctuating between diarrhea, then constipation, and I was determined, like, come hell or high water, I'm gonna figure this thing out, right? I'm gonna figure out exactly what's going on here, because I refuse to accept that I'm meant to feel like a bag of shit the rest of my life, right? And so I remember I'd start Googling, and I'd be Googling, and then I'd realize, okay, everyone's talking about probiotics. I'm gonna go to the health food store. I'm gonna buy this random probiotic. I don't even know what the heck these words mean, but I'm gonna buy this probiotic. And then when that didn't work, I'd try another random supplement. I was like an octopus on roller skates. I was willing to do whatever it took. But what I started to realize was I was actually making my gut a lot worse, because I was guessing wrong. And so tonight I want to get you a little bit more understanding and clarity around how your gut actually works, because if you don't understand what's going on and you don't know what's wrong, then how the heck are we going to fix it? Right? It's really tough to fix something when you don't know what you need to be fixing and how you need to fix it. And so this is why so many people will take a probiotic and they'll be like, well, that didn't work. And it's like, well, of course it didn't work, my friend, right? Of course it didn't work. Probiotic, its job is to put good bacteria in your gut. Right? That's it. It's not going to necessarily take away your diarrhea or constipation. It's not necessarily going to alleviate your gas and bloating. Its job is to put good bacteria in there. And so understanding what's causing your symptoms, but also what supplements and foods and changes you need to make are responsible for fixing those things. All right? So let's get you some understanding around that. And before we do that, we're going to take a couple steps back. And the way that I like to really dive into this topic and help you understand your gut is kind of looking at it like we do our car. So our car goes through wear and tear, right? And this wear and tear is exactly why we do oil changes on our car. We would never skip an oil change, especially not for the life of the car. And you certainly would not do one oil change and be like, all right, she's good. She's good for the rest of her life. We're not going to give her any more oil changes. Good old Betty, she's going to run for the rest of her days, right? It doesn't work that way, right? You do these oil changes because if you didn't, you would need a new engine. And that's expensive. So you do the dang oil change, right? Now the same thing's happening with your gut. Your gut is going through wear and tear. I'm going to give you some specific examples that I want you to look out for. These are risk factors that will keep you stuck on the angry gut train. And so here's some things you want to look out for. First of all, if you've ever been stressed before, and not just stress, but if you have a busy mind, Okay, if you find your mind is spinning all the time, you're worrying, like, where's the closest bathroom? Are you going to make it to the toilet? Is the food going to cause a reaction? Or if someone notices that you look so bloated, you look like you could be pregnant while you're in the grocery store line, or if you're going to finally get some relief and poop today, or if your coworker smelt the fart that you just let out, you know, all these spinning thoughts that are going on. Or, oh shit, did I remember to pick up that thing at the grocery store? Or did I remember to send that email? All of these thoughts hurt your gut, all right? So stress, spinning thoughts in your head. Also, if you're not drinking enough water, maybe too much coffee or too much alcohol, not getting good quality sleep, eating the same foods all the time is absolutely a risk factor for hurting your gut. So it's why in the Love and Trust Your Guts program, we don't encourage restrictive diets. We don't do restrictive diets. We focus on removing the inflammatory foods and then focus on reintroduction of foods, because you need that variety to help feed your good bacteria, right? Otherwise, you're starving the poor little buggers who are trying to fix your gut. All right, so if you're eating the same darn foods all the time, that ain't good. But also, even things like environmental toxins, things that are out of your control, like aging or travel, all of these things wear and tear on your gut. They wear out your poor gut. Now, the big problem is that we've never been taught how to maintain our gut, right? How do we do an oil change for our gut? Does anyone know? Right? No one knows, because we were never taught this. And so we've gone our whole life, 20, 30, 40 years, with all this wear and tear happening on the gut. And eventually we get to a spot where the symptoms get louder and louder, and the gas, bloating, diarrhea, constipation gets worse and worse. And you, my friend, have arrived. You need an engine. You need an engine rebuild. Okay, so does this make a little bit of sense so far? Right? This makes a little bit more sense when we look at it. It's like, well, gosh, like, no wonder my gut's a little bit angry. Now, let's take it one step further, because okay, we got it. We understand that, you know, wear and tear on the gut, this is hurting the gut, but what does that actually do? What does it do to the gut, right? So what studies have really shown us is that when your gut is continually being depleted, and these risk factors continually show up in your life, it will start to deplete your good bacteria and also your digestive enzymes. Now, these two are really, really critical in helping you to digest your foods and keep bad bacteria out. So if you have all this wear and tear happening and now you're depleted, and the two things that break down your foods and keep bad bacteria out, we are in trouble. Because what that means is every time you go to eat your foods, they're not being broken down properly. So you might even find that you're pooping out whole foods, right? You like poop sometime mid-afternoon, you're like, well, there was my lunch. You know, can see the salad and the lettuce leaf in my poop there, right? Or, oh, there's the raspberries. I see my breakfast, right? It's because your stomach's not breaking the foods down. And so what eventually happens is when these foods are not being broken down properly, they start to sit in the gut and they just rot and ferment, and not the good kind of fermentation. And this really starts to create a gas buildup, and eventually you literally get bloated from that gas buildup. Sometimes it will cause people to belch, or you will literally fart it out, right? You'll be a tooting machine. You're tooting all the way through the workday, right? So this is also, you know, again, not ideal, because when this continues to happen, this symptom is prolonged over time. Eventually, these food particles, they continue to rub up on the gut lining, and that friction eventually wears out the mucus layer that protects your gut. And this causes the tight junctions of your muscle to slowly start to tear, and we get small holes in the gut lining. This is what we call leaky gut. All right, this is the root of inflammation. So if you've got skin issues going on, if you've got hormone issues going on, if you've got gut issues happening, this comes from these types of imbalances. All right, now it doesn't really just stop there, because remember, that's just what's happening with your food. You also don't have any defense system, good bacteria and enzymes, like bouncers at the door keeping bad bacteria out. So eventually bad bacteria come in, they take over. It could be anything from H. pylori, candida, SIBO, parasites. So all of these bacteria, these opportunistic bacteria come in and start to take over, and that also then adds another layer to your symptoms. So when we really start to look at what is the culprit, what is the culprit behind the symptoms that you're experiencing, it's not the food, guys. It's in your gut. It's these imbalances in your gut. And so when we take a look at the damage and deficiencies that are really happening, it's no wonder when you eat your foods, there's a reaction. It's not really, again, the food that's the problem. It's your gut struggling to break these foods down because, again, there's damage and deficiencies and imbalances happening. So this is why in the Love and Trust Your Guts program, again, we don't believe in restriction. It's not about taking out foods. You can take food out and you might short term find that there's some relief from your symptoms. But the second that you add those foods back in, you're going to be right back into the angry butt train. That's good. The angry gut train. Oh my God. Every once in a while, this is the danger about going live, is you end up saying things, you can't take that back, right? So the angry gut train, you end up right back on that angry gut train and your symptoms come rushing back, right? And not to mention, we're not even discussing the fact that restrictive diets are a miserable way to live. They're impossible to maintain. They harbor disordered eating. And in a lot of cases, people start to develop eating disorders because they're terrified of foods. They're restricting foods. They're living on such a restrictive lifestyle, they can't even go out and eat with their family or friends, right? And so that really starts to weigh on you emotionally. So when we approach fixing your gut, this is why we actively jump into responsive removal. Responsive removal. This is really critical, guys. We work on this with every single one of our clients. You need responsive removal because we need to look at these bacteria that are taking over and feeding into the imbalances and deficiencies that are happening in your gut. So the two things that have to happen in order for you to really fix this is, one, you need to address the damage and deficiencies that are happening in your gut. And two, you need to address the overgrowth of bacteria and the imbalance in your bacteria. So overgrowth of bad bacteria and the imbalance in your good bacteria. And the truth of the matter is everyone always asks me, we do these lives and always the next day we get this flood of messages in my inbox and people are always asking, what supplement should I take? What food should I follow? What diet should I be, following? All of these questions. And the reality is I can't answer that question because I don't know enough about your individual body and what is causing your gut to remain so angry. And in the gut health industry, there are so many bold promises that are based off of assumption. And I am not going to put you or I in a position where we assume anything for your body. We're not going to assume that, yes, just take this random probiotic, that will do it. Right? You've already been through enough. You have invested your hard-earned dollars into supplements that some random blogger told you that is going to fix everything for you, and then it didn't. And now it's starting to really weigh on you emotionally, and you're starting to wonder if it's even possible for you to fix your gut. So I'm not going to put you in a position like that, or myself, by assuming anything and recommending random things. What we have to really do is get you on a responsive gut repair system that customizes things for your individual body. We can't do that until we understand a little bit more about what you're struggling with. So that's it for today, guys. If you've got some questions, if you feel like you need some support and you've been struggling and maybe you're not sure, like, I'm trying all these things and I just don't know what piece of the puzzle I'm missing. If that's you, then please reach out. Let me know all of the things that you've tried and let's start to figure out what might be missing. Because in my experience, it's not that it's not possible for you. It's just that there's a critical piece of the puzzle missing or a stone unturned. And when we really start to dive into that and take a look at what might be missing, fill in that piece, and take a fine-tooth comb through this, pick up all those pieces, that's when you start getting the results. That's when you start getting the results. So, you know where to find me, guys. Reach out if you've got questions. I hope you guys have an awesome night. And if you found this helpful and you learned a little bit more about your gut, can you do me a favor? Give it a like, give it a share, and then come on back next week. And we're going to talk about another real juicy topic and get your gut a little bit happier. How's that sound? Okay, bye, guys.